Good morning. All right, I want you to focus on your breathing right away. That's how we're gonna come into this, okay? So just take a few deep breaths and settle in. All right, keep breathing and come into tabletop. We're going to use this to just get into our bodies. Get used to moving our bodies while we're doing nice full breathing. So do a few rounds of cat-cow. Exhale to arch your back up like a cat. And inhale to round your sternum down to the floor. All right, and we're going to come up onto the feet right away. Keep nice smooth movement, nice smooth breath, and come onto your left foot. And hover your right foot at the back of the mat. I'm keeping my fists on the floor just for some nice balance here. You can do the same. We're looking for activation through the left leg, through the glute. We're going to come up into a one leg balance here. Keep breathing. You want that left glute to stay very active because it's supporting this whole pose. Play with some movement of bending the knee and bringing it back to straight. See how far down you can go with your glute engaged and not dumping your weight into the knee. So you want to find a supported muscle pathway all the way through for every stage of that movement. And if you don't have it, then find the edge of where you have it and work in that area so that you can build the strength necessary in your glutes. Okay, I'm going to come up, still standing on that left leg. We're keeping it active. We're trying to really engage it and build the muscles that we need to support ourselves. So now I'm standing upright, bring my right knee to 90 degrees, and my glute in my standing leg is still active, but where I'm really feeling it now is around my ankle, my foot, and my calf. So take a few deep breaths here. Keep that left glute engaged and pushing down actively. And keep your right hip up, as if you're lifting your leg up like you're about to stomp on something. That's the kind of activeness you want through this pose. And hold it. I'm pushing this to quite a long one because I really want to expand the strength that I have in my stabilizing muscles down through my legs. All right, release. Very nice. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, we're going to bring it to the other side. Standing on the right foot, left leg comes back. And you can start bent or straight and hover that leg. The point here is to engage the glute. So sometimes it's easier to engage the glute from an upright position and then to come down into a bend. And make sure that all the movement you're doing is coming from that engaged glute, that it's like all the muscle activation that's flowing through here is passing through your glute, is what you want. Come back to your breath. All right, you can bring your left knee up to 90 degrees. Stay strong through that right leg, engaging the glute. Well, if you're anything like me, you're finding this very challenging. Clearly my supporting and stabilizing muscles down through this leg and the calf and the ankle are not that strong, but that's why we're doing this. We want to find the point that's our limitation, that's our bottleneck, and grow it and expand it. This is a type of exercise I like to do a lot, where I will, for instance, I'll stand on one leg like this, and it doesn't so much matter what I'm doing. Up on top, I may play with bending forward or bending my knee or putting my other leg out front. But what I do is I continue until I absolutely can't stand it in the weakest point anymore. And right now the weakest point for me is down through my calf and into my ankle. So that's what I'm really working here. I'm building strength in there, and at the same time, I might as well build strength somewhere else. For instance, in my hip flexor, my left hip flexor, as I hold this leg up. Or also in my glute here. If I do some bending and I bring it back to this kind of pose, I'm engaging my glute much more actively. All right. Give me one more good breath. Big, deep breath. Very nice. Whew. Yeah, that was challenging. Okay. Let's come down to a seat. And we're going to get our hip flexors going. We're going to get our core going. You can come into a nice boat pose variation. If you're feeling up to it, you can go right up into a boat and bring your shins parallel to the ground. That's not where I'm at, so I'm just going to sit and keep my legs active, pulling my belly button toward my thighs. And take a few deep breaths here. You should feel your hip flexors and your core turned on here. If you stay in this position, if you notice your back, your lower back is curving at all, your hip flexors will turn off, and that's not what we want. So if possible, actually actively arch your back, your lower back that is, and for me, actively arching it brings it to pretty much straight. So actively arch your lower back, and that turns your hip flexors on like mad, which is what we're going for, because that's another weak point in a lot of bodies, because your hip flexors don't get used very much because we sit all the time. And I've noticed this since I've started doing this practice. When I put socks on, I'll lift my leg up and pull the sock on. And I used to not be able to fully lift my leg up like to my chest to just hold it there and put a sock on. I would lift it up and kind of prop it up. But since I've started this practice, I've noticed, it's funny, that's kind of the biggest place where I've noticed the improvement is I can now just pull my leg right up to my chest and hold it there while I put my socks on. Holding it here, you can play with, my legs have been parallel, but you can play with bringing your knees together a little bit, and that engages you even more. And if you like, you can lean back a little bit more, and this transfers more of the pressure, more of the weight into your core. And it'll become more of a combined exercise, core and hip flexors. Another really nice addition to this is you can just lift your heels up 6 inches or so. You don't need to do any straightening of your leg, but just lift the heels up 6 inches. And that is huge for your hip flexors. And again, just like in the last pose, in this pose, our bottleneck is the hip flexors. So that's what we're gonna keep holding until our hip flexors are totally tired out. We're really trying to find our edge because we want to find the places that are the most limiting to us and grow them. And eventually we'll become a lot less limited. Keep breathing nice and deep. Whew. All right. Whew. Very good. Well done. My goodness. Okay. We're going to lower down on the back and bring your knees up into your chest. And find a nice hip opening resting pose here. You can use your hands to move your knees around and spread your legs out as wide as you like, or just bring them into your chest and find a nice stretch through your hips. Take a few good deep breaths, maybe let out some sighs. Lower back is flush with the mat, and we're going to come up into a happy baby. So bring your heels up and face the bottoms of your feet toward the sky. You can find a grip for your hands that's comfortable for you. And you can play with, if you like, bring your elbows to the inside of your knees, and you can play with using them to adjust the angle of your stretch here. So don't go too hard here. We're not trying to really push a stretch. This is a pose for relaxing. This is a pose, it's kind of a reward for the difficult work you just did on your glutes and your calves and your hip flexors. So stretch it out, get nice and relaxed, take some deep breaths. All right, now from wherever you are, bring your legs up so they are vertical and flex your feet. Imagine you're holding, imagine there's somebody sitting on top of your feet like you do in acro yoga and there's someone sitting up there. So flex your feet and pull your toes down towards your shins and try to hold your legs at a 90-degree angle to your body. And we're just gonna hold here. This is another activity for engaging your calves, engaging your feet, and strengthening the whole system that supports you from the ground up. So as you flex your toes towards your shins here, if you like, you can play with spreading out your pinky toes. See if you have the ability to spread your pinky toes apart from your other toes, because a lot of us, our pinky toes are just kind of squashed in with the rest of them and they're a little bit atrophied. But we actually have muscles that can flex our pinky toes and can give us a wider base of support. And it's good to develop those. So flexing your toes down toward your shins. Now give it a couple points. Point your toes straight up and then slowly bring them back down to flex. And to straight up and back down to a strong flex. And hold it for another few breaths. It's getting hard. Oh, that's all I got. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that was a tough one. Okay. That same motion we were just doing with our feet, bringing them back towards our shins, we're going to do that same motion with our hands now. So come into a comfortable seat. You can sit cross-legged, you can come onto your knees, whatever you prefer. But the important part is bring your chest up, shoulders back and down, and we're going to lift our arms straight out in front of us, as if our upper body were in a plank position. And now we're going to do the same thing with our hands we were just doing with our feet. So flex your hands up and pull those fingers as much as you can with your muscles back towards your arm. And this is a huge engagement for the top of the arm, developing these muscles that we don't tend to use, but that are necessary, but that are necessary for a strong foundation in plank position without hurting your wrists. Or any hand-supported position you want to do. If you want to get into doing handstands, that's going to be the same thing. You need to build up the muscles that support your hand in this position, otherwise you're just going to be dumping into your wrists in plank position. So find a nice burn in here and we're going to hold it. Push your edge, pull it back as hard as you can. Spread your fingertips out. Okay, and release and pull the other way. So give a nice stretch, put your fist, hold a fist and pull them down. Get a nice stretch through the top of your arm, but also you're engaging the muscle on the bottom of your arm that's pulling your hands into this position. We're gonna hold it here. Shoulders down, away from your ears. And your shoulder blades are pulling together. All right, and switch, bring your arms, oh, this is hard. Back up, hands back up, and pulling on that muscle on the top of your arm. I can't even get close to 90 degrees. I got a lot of work to do on this one. One more breath. And release. Very good. Whew. All right, we're gonna do a little bit of core activation before we call it a day for this practice. So, bring it down onto your side. Core activation into your legs, which is the kind of core activation that I think is the most important. Because your legs are really heavy and your core is a big part of what lifts them. And when I say your core, I mean not just your abs, but the whole section of your torso that connects into your legs through your hip flexors, your glutes. This whole area is your core. So come up onto your side, engage your abs, engage your core, and we're gonna lift. I have my, we're gonna lift the top leg up. Primarily, you're gonna feel your glutes turn on here, okay? So make sure your toes aren't pointed up at all. If they're pointed even a little bit up, that brings the pressure of this exercise into the front of your leg. We want it on the side and the back. We want it in your glute. So bring your foot to exactly parallel, pointing forward, parallel with the ground. And bring your leg up and engage your core, engage your glute. We're gonna hold here. Take some deep breaths. Foot parallel. Three, two, one, and release. Very nice. Okay, bring that top foot in front of the knee on your lower foot. And we're gonna lift up the lower leg using your inner thigh to pull it up off the ground. Doesn't need to get too high, but start to feel that engagement. And we're up. Keep your side body engaged and active. Deep breaths. 3, 2, 1. Very nice. Let's come on to the other side. Oh, I found a nice way of getting there. Those turns, I always love those turns. You know, you can do a nice rotate like this. This is where the fun of this practice comes in. You can find, as you build these muscles, you start to be able to move with more grace and more fun. So that's one way to feel the benefits of this kind of practice is if while you're doing the practice, you have a little bit of fun with it and move around. So as you come onto your left side, engage the side body, and we're gonna lift our top leg. With your big toe exactly parallel to the ground. And engage your glute. We're gonna hold here. You also don't want to be dumping into this elbow that you're holding your torso up with. You want to be using your core to hold this position. The elbow is just for a little bit of support. The less you put into your elbow, the more this is also a core activity, and you'll feel the side of your abs turning on here, which is great. Holding. Nice deep breaths. 3, 2, 1, and release. Very nice. Okay. Bring your top leg with your foot in front of the knee of your lower leg. And lift up that lower leg. I'm noticing this side's immediately a little bit weaker for me. Keep your upper body in a nice straight line and engage your core. One more deep breath. And lower it down. Whew. Wow, by the end there, I really only had it like an inch off the ground. That's okay. I was engaged. That's what we're going for. How much time are we at here? Take a couple of deep breaths. I'm just checking my time. 25 minutes. That seems like a good amount of time. Hey, I'm going to keep going, but I'm going to do that in a different video. So if you want to keep going, just watch the next video.